want to tell you a little story here that happened a few weeks ago, just about 3 or 4 weeks ago, actually. Had some guys putting in some hardwood in my house and got a phone call. And the guy that was putting in the hardwood, I was at work putting in the wood in the floor in the house. He goes, "Russ, you need to get home. There's some Russians at your house." And he goes, "I can't understand what they're saying, but I don't know what's going on." So I ran home to find out what in the world this guy's talking about, and got there, and there's a couple there that sure enough were from Russia. And they had come all the way to the United States. They spend every year their vacation doing research and writing stories or writing history books on American folk music and a lot of the blues artists. And what they did, they came down to Decula looking for my great-grandfather's grave. Well, they found it. And the guy that's there caretaking the cemetery said, "Well, some of them Tanners, they still live right over there." So they came to the house, came on in the house. And so I came home and got to meet them and got to talk with them a little while. And they had been already up in North Carolina looking at Charlie Poole's stuff, and they had been down looking for Blind Willie McTell's home place, and they were looking for, went on to Tupelo, Mississippi, and New Orleans, and just doing all this research. And he told me, he said, we do all this, and we write these stories so that the Russian people can understand American folk music. And I thought, well, big deal. Why do you like that? Why would the Russians be interested? He said, "You see, there is no folk music in Russia." He said, "We want the Russians to understand your history and what you guys have here, because whenever the Russian Revolution took place, they didn't want there to be any history. They tried to erase all the history, so they lost all their history, and they lost all their roots, and he wants them to be able to build the roots up like we have here," which is pretty neat, and it's pretty sad at the same time. And he writes these blogs, and he writes books and everything, and he's got one story that he tells about an old spinning wheel that, going from town to town, he finds a couple trying to sell an old spinning wheel, and he stops and buys it. And I thought it was kind of ironic, too, that we got an old song that kind of fits along with that, one called "The Old Spinning Wheel."